Hey, going?
Hey, we can't turn your... Hey, we're back, and we're live. Damian, Nolan, Louis Maroney. Okay, keep going. We were about to touch on the Cary Fukunaga script for It.
Okay. So, what happened was back in about 2012, New Horizon brought on True Detective Season 1's director, Cary Fukunaga, to make the script for It. And what Fukunaga's script for It was basically going to be is what Stanley Kubrick's The Shining was to the book. It was going to be not really focused on rooting itself too heavily in the book. It was mainly going to be very artistic. Right. It was going to be very delving into its own themes, rooted in the themes of the book, but more developed in separate ways. And it was going to be split into two halves, and this carried over into the Muschietti films, which, very smart decision. I feel like you really have to do this with. The first half is the children, and the second half is the adults. And what Fukunaga's movies were going to be called, these movies are It Chapter 1 and It Chapter 2. Fukunaga's were going to be The Losers Club and Pennywise. And the second movie was going to be heavily, heavily focused on Pennywise.
That's right, yeah.
And It as a character. And apparently this next one is also going to carry that over as well.
Alright, yeah.
In addition to a mixture of things. But what happened with Fukunaga's script is he wrote this very, very psychological, character-based script.
Right.
And he came up with the idea of, in the book, it manifests itself as, like, a lot of horror movie monsters, or a lot of, like, tangible fears. And in Fukunaga's script, it was going to kind of manifest itself as fears that are more psychological based.
Right.
So, like, Bev, her fear, this is also from the book as well, but it was going to center around her becoming more like a woman. So, like, the reason why blood is so, like, themed around her, it's menstrual blood.
Okay.
But, for example, a lot of stuff with the personal fears in the Muschietti movie carried over from Fukunaga's script.
Of course.
So, no horror movie monsters. It's all kind of like Mike Hanlon seeing his parents burning in the fire.
Yeah.
Or, what else? Billy seeing Georgie and stuff like that. Another big change with Fukunaga's script was Richie Tozier and Stanley, I can't remember his last name. They were going to be merged into one character.
Yeah.
They were going to be a closeted gay Jewish kid named Richie Berkowitz or some shit.
Right.
And his whole thing was that he was going to be, like, about to celebrate his bar mitzvah or some stuff, and it was going to delve into his sexuality.
Right.
There was going to be a lot of stuff with Bev's sexuality and the way adult men view her, the way her peers view her. And that carries over into the new movie as well, and it's in the book. But it was going to be a lot more visceral and uncomfortable.
Ooh.
And if you look into a lot of the script about the Fukunaga movie, it was going to be an extremely uncomfortable movie.
Right.
And I don't mean that as an insult. I mean that's the point of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
It was going to be uncomfortable. It was going to be frightening on a emotional level.
That makes sense for Fukunaga.
And one of the big, big things is Pennywise. And It was going to be very much more of a psychological villain, even than what we got in the final movie, and way more than we got in the miniseries. He was going to be much more manipulative, sadistic, a fucking monster, and he was going to be played by Will Poulter.
Really?
Which would have been fucking terrifying.
That would have been pretty bad.
Because
pretty scary.
He was supposed to look like a trapeze artist.
Oh.
That was what his original design was kind of supposed to be. So he was supposed to be like bald, baby-faced, and then turn into a fucking monster.
Right.
So that would have been very, very frightening.
That would have been
and
scary.
Will Poulter can be fucking scary.
He can, yeah.
If you've seen his shit in Detroit,
he's scary in that movie.
Frightening.
Oh, he is fucking scary in that movie.
Yeah. So, what was going to end up happening is the whole finale battle in the sewer was going to be like this fucking surrealist. Like, they're in, like, upside-down gravity waterfalls fighting, like, a tentacle starfish in, like, a void.
The fuck?
It was gonna be fucking weird.
That would be really sick.
What? It's this crazy psychological horror movie that, one of the examples of one of the horrors was, it was going to appear to the Jewish kid as a naked woman masturbating in a pool of menstrual blood. Like I said, it was going to be very uncomfortable. There's also apparently a scene where Bowers, like the bully, fucks a sheep and then comes on a birthday cake.
Nice.
So, well, like I said, uncomfortable movie.
Yeah.
And the
Kind of,
studio,
a little bit.
The studio looked at it and was like, "What the fuck is this?"
That's peak Cary Fukunaga.
To a degree, I kind of get where they're coming from.
Well, yeah, they're trying to make money here.
So they're like, "Okay, man, you're going too far. Make it." And then they kind of went too far in the other direction. They're like, "Nah, we want it safe. We want it just scares and no psychological shit." Fukunaga was like, "Fuck you guys, I'm leaving." So they brought on Andy Muschietti, and Andy Muschietti read the Fukunaga script, and he's like, I really like a lot of what's in this.
Yeah, so when he brought his writers in, he told them to keep a lot of it.
He retooled it. He kept very much the spirit of the Fukunaga movie. Like I described it before, it is a book-accurate Fukunaga script.
Is the Fukunaga script online anywhere available? I think it is,
Yes,
right?
yes, you can find the whole script online.
Yeah. Fukunaga.
So, what I am going to say is we cannot judge the Fukunaga movie because it never was a movie.
Right.
We don't know how it would have turned out. We don't know if things would have worked or they wouldn't have worked. It's just a script. So we only have that to go on. And as I look at the Fukunaga script, I really can't say for sure how the movie would have turned out, whether I would have liked it or not. I like the idea of it, 100%. And it very well could have been the next Shining. And I guarantee you Stephen King would have fucking hated it.
Oh, God, yeah.
But some of the changes feel a little unnecessary. And I'm not saying, like, an adaptation has to be accurate to the source material to be good. But, like, merging Richie and Stanley into one character feels a little arbitrary. Like, I do agree maybe that there were too many kids. Like, 7 kids in a 2-hour movie.
It's a lot of kids.
It's a lot.
They can get very confusing.
And,
I can understand that. That's a critique I can understand, definitely.
I can get it. But other things, like, they cut the leper out entirely. You know Eddie and the leper?
Yeah.
The leper's not there, and it's just mentioned. Like, Eddie's like, "Oh, yeah, I saw the leper."
Yeah,
and, like, that wouldn't have been good.
I would not agree with that.
That would have been dumb. And, like, it's especially bizarre because, like, you see all the other kids' horrors, and then it's just, this guy's is mentioned, and it's one of the most famous things from the book. And, some of the shit, like, it's cool that it's uncomfortable. It might have gone too far.
Yeah.
To the point that, like...
And if you've seen Beast of No Nation, you know that's what you get sometimes. Bowers
fucking a sheep and coming on a birthday cake is like, okay.
If you know anything about Cary Fukunaga and you've seen Beast of No Nation, you know Cary Fukunaga is not afraid to, like, get really, like, disturbing and really, like... So, yeah, I can understand definitely how the script was probably, like... I'm going to definitely read this now, because I have not gotten to read it, but
I still need to read the full Fukunaga.
Like, from a studio movie standpoint, I could definitely see why they would maybe not want him, like...
Especially for a movie as high profile as this one was. That was in development hell for so long. But, like I said, and another bizarre thing is he changed a lot of names arbitrarily.
I hate when they do that.
So, like, Henry Bowers is Travis Bowers.
What?
The main character, Bill, is called Will.
Why?
Which, like, it's not even huge, but it's just like, why do that?
Yeah.
Like, it's such a minor but unnecessary change. A bunch of other name changes. Like, a lot of the characters were going to have totally different names. And Muschietti scrapped all of that with the exception of one, and that's because he had there were 2 Wills in the book. So he changed one of them to Leroy.
That's fair.
I believe that was Billy's dad who got changed to Leroy, which, that's fine. But, the more I look into the Fukunaga, I am extremely intrigued by the script. but I also cannot say for sure how it would have turned out. And I'm not judging it as a movie. I'm not saying it would have been better than the one we got.
Yeah, we never know.
All I can say is it's an interesting script. Would have easily been an interesting movie, but I'm extremely happy with the movie we got, and in some ways, I'm kind of happy that we got this one.
Yeah,
instead.
It's opposite Ant-Man. It actually worked out this time.
Yeah, and I think that's because they accidentally hired a really good director.
And Mother, I mean...
Andy Muschietti knows what he's fucking doing.
Oh, he does. If you've seen Mother, you know he knows what he's doing.
So now we're going to get into its spoilers, because I do want to talk about some things that were cut.
Let's please do.
From this movie, because they didn't have the budget.
I will put time codes in the description, by the way, so so spoilers start at this time point. I will tell you when they stop. Go ahead.
Okay. So... in the book, there's this whole thing with the ritual of Chud, where there's like this big, weird, mystic ritual thing, and one of the things is you find out its backstory and how it came to be, how it came to Earth millions of years ago, they use like Indian, mystic, Native American technique things, like with like stones and shit. I don't remember how, but, they wanted to include that got cut. So the element of the ritual of Chud isn't in, but like that was the weird mythos stuff that I don't really care about. The turtle is not in.
Right.
Which, I didn't really care about the turtle that much. That was another weird
turtle
Stephen King thing. But there are a lot of nods to the turtle.
Yeah.
There's Lego turtles, there's like turtle imagery. They mention seeing a turtle when they're at the pond. So, I love that. I kind of wish they actually went further with that, because it adds to, like, sort of like the turtle being a symbol of good watching over the children.
Right.
And I vastly prefer that over there's a turtle who pukes up universes, and he's God.
It just sounds like dumb.
It's like, what the Stephen King had to be on fucking drugs when he did that.
He was on coke at that point, yeah.
And one of the biggest cuts. There was originally going to be the scene at the nightclub, the black nightclub where the KKK burns it down. You find out it was Pennywise behind it. But the biggest scene that they said they wanted to include this in the sequel. But it kills me that this scene was not in this movie, because even in the movie, it has such a brilliant payoff. But the scene that pays it off is great on its own anyway. But if this was there for the setup, it would have been so fucking good. What it was there was going to be a scene where it was in his Pennywise form, but he hadn't matured. So he was like, not even like a clown, he was like translucent, vaguely humanoid. And Skarsgård described it as being, like, unbelievably scary. Like, he said it was going to be the scariest thing in the movie.
Was it the flashback thing he talks about, where, like, is that weird?
What happens is, it's in colonial times.
Yep, it is.
And it's setting up the idea that it has found a way to root his evil in Derry.
I read about this, yeah.
And what it was going to be, it's a colonial family, and it, in this, like, horrific fucking, like, uncanny, sort of human, sort of not form, takes one of the daughters, and he tells the mother, I will let you and your family live if you let me eat your daughter. And the mother accepts. And he eats the daughter on camera in horrific detail, like rips her limb from limb, disembowels her, just devours her alive, as the family watches.
That would have been...
And the family lives.
That would have been
And they escape, and it builds up to that being it rooting its evil in Derry. So that pays off with the scene that's still in the movie when he takes Billy in the sewer. And he says, I will take him and I will go back to sleep and you will all live and you'll live happy lives. And they say, no, fuck you. And they beat the living shit out of him.
Yeah.
And that's something that I'm so glad they added. Because in the book, they shoot him with the silver bullet. And the whole thing is, it's supposed to be a play on, like, they think it's real so they can affect him. It's Freddy Krueger rules. And in this, they sort of play with that, but the gun doesn't have a bullet in it, but he still hurts him anyway. But they really laid in. I fucking love this, because it is a being that feeds on fear. So when you're not afraid on him, he's fucking pathetic. they beat the fucking shit out of Pennywise.
Oh,
At the end, it's 7 children beat the fuck out of a sewer clown. Is the end of this movie, and I loved it. They're beating him with steel pipes. But like the whole thing that's so brilliant is that they beat it by like not succumbing to the mistakes of the past.
Right.
The kids, the whole theme of them staying together and their friendship is what wins. So, the fact that they don't abandon each other, it's what beats the clown. That's great in the movie, but if they had that scene with the mother letting her child die...
That would have made it, like...
That would have made it so much better.
I wish they had kept
That's the one... And it's...
That's a studio note.
That's the one... They wanted that scene in, but they did not have the budget for it. This movie was already about to go over budget. It only had a $35 million budget. But... the sequel is going to have a fucking huge budget because this movie made fucking bank. This was like a $35 million budget and it made like almost $200 million. Like almost
it's only been out for like
almost $200 million.
It hasn't even been out that long. It's insane. Like the sequel.
I mean, it's like the biggest horror opening period.
I think it is. Yeah,
and
deservedly so. I think.
It's and you know what? Good on them. They made a good fucking movie.
Shout out to Annie Muschietti.
And you know what? I think a lot of it is due to word of mouth.
No, yeah.
Because a lot. I've heard of so many people seeing it like, yeah, I was not going to see this at all, but I hear from everyone it's awesome. It's, you know what it is? It's directed in the style of Stranger Things.
It is.
In the way that...
very R-rated Stranger Things.
In the way that DuckTales reboot is DuckTales directed in the style of Gravity Falls. And I really like that kind of mix of 2 works and 2 styles.
I would love to see the Duffer
together.
Brothers working on the sequel. That would be so cool.
Fun fact, the Duffer Brothers wanted to direct this movie.
I'm not surprised.
They wanted to direct it, but the studio turned them down because they weren't high profile enough. And then they went on to direct Stranger Things.
You guys only wrote on Wayward Pines. Nobody knows that show, but they know.
Yeah.
I would love to, I mean, they're probably not, but
Duffer Brothers, it would have probably been very interesting.
That would have been interesting.
But, one of the big things that carried over from the Fukunaga script was the time change.
Yeah.
Because the original the children's stuff takes place in 58, and the modern day stuff takes place in the 80s, I want to say.
I think so, yeah, about that.
This movie, super cool little nods. First off, it takes place in 89, which I feel like at this point, the 80s has become to our generation what the 60s was to the 80s.
Yeah.
It's like in that sweet spot of nostalgia where everyone is kind of pining for that sort of aesthetic again. Because you see the 80s and all the works from it are like kids in the 60s.
Yeah.
Because all the kids from the 60s grew up to make shit in the 80s. Now all the 80s and 90s kids are growing up and making shit now.
Yeah.
So 80s is in that like hot spot nostalgia area. And I personally love that because I love the 80s as an aesthetic and as a... not saying like, oh, I was born in the wrong generation. I'm fascinated by the 80s.
Yes, Sam.
And the culture of the 80s I think is very fascinating. And
I agree.
It's like that prelude to the 90s counterculture where everything was just kind of getting wacky.
Yeah.
The 80s is fun in that regard.
Yeah.
Especially for fiction. But what's going to be interesting is they set it up to where, it returns after 27 years.
Yeah.
So the sequel is going to be set in 2018 when the movie comes out. So that's very interesting. I really like that they did that. Because, the book it takes place in what was then the present day. So now we're having this take place in the present day as well for the sequel. And what's going to happen in the sequel, which I'm very glad about, I think this first movie works as a self-contained movie, honestly. If they just, for whatever reason, they couldn't make a sequel, I'm like, you know what, that's a shame, but I like how this movie came out.
Yeah. And
here's the thing. I've always thought the material with the kids was stronger than the material with the adults. The material with the adults is important. And I think it's very necessary for the plot. But the thing is, the book is kind of told, like, flipping between time periods.
Yeah.
And the miniseries in these movies are old shit in this movie, new shit in this movie. And what the next movie is going to do, I was wary of it because I'm like, well, I'm not as interested in the adult stuff. And the kids in this movie were so fucking good.
And let me point out, I hate kid actors. This movie is perfect.
props to the casting director for getting the cutest child actor in Hollywood to play Georgie so that they could horrifically maim him.
Nice.
Props.
Nice.
Props.
Is Muschietti doing a sequel?
Yes, Muschietti's on board for the sequel. And they've got the whole sequel. They're in the planning process.
Beautiful.
One thing that I'm super happy about, they're going the book route, where they're giving... Because part of the book is narrated by Pennywise.
Yeah.
They're flipping between the adults, the 80s, and Pennywise's perspective in the next movie. So
That's gonna be interesting.
I'm very excited for that. And they said they're going to delve into it as a character and kind of trying to get how its mind works, its purpose, its psyche, how it thinks, why it thinks. And I'm very intrigued by that. And I'm very excited for it.
This was
So to wrap up everything about it, I was very pleased with this movie.
It was much better than the Lego Ninjago movie.
I was very surprised at how good this movie was. So, real quick, you did say you wanted to talk about Lego Ninjago.
I do want to talk about that very quickly.
I hand this off to you.
Alright, so if you know me, you know I love the Lego movie. One of my favorite anime movies, period.
I've never seen the Lego movie.
We're gonna, someday, you, me, and Logan, we're gonna sit down, we're gonna watch it.
I've been meaning to watch that.
You, Damien, would love it. It's insane. I'm not gonna spoil anything. I'm just gonna say it's insanely. It's ridiculously clever, in a way that will blow your mind. That being said, I think it's great. It was shortlisted for the Academy Award.
What about Lego Batman?
Lego Batman I watched too. Not as good at all, but it's a very high standard to live up to. Still, it's funny. It's charming. It's funny. There was effort put into it. Yeah. Seth Grahame-Smith, if you don't know, he's the writer of Pride and Prejudice Zombies. He wrote the screenplay. Yeah. Very funny movie, and not nearly as good as Lego movie. But again, I didn't think it was gonna be. It's all the random quirky parts of the Lego movie, and they made a movie with that. This movie was the least good. It was good, but it's the first one that feels like a product. You know what I mean?
Because Ninjago was a product.
It was a TV show card. It was a sub brand of Lego, and you feel it. It feels kind of like a commercial. The animation's great, but the plot feels like a TV movie. It was good. Like, there's a thing with the main villain's this cat named Meowthera, who's a live-action cat. And
that's actually kind of funny.
No, it's guided by the evil villain with a laser pointer, and it's crashing.
That's also very funny.
It was actually really funny. It gets overdone a little bit, definitely, I will say, but it's really funny. And I also like how in this movie, not everything was made of Legos. Like, the smoke and the fire is actually smoke and fire and water. That was cool. It's a fine movie. I'd recommend it. It's just, it's more for the little kids, I'd say. That's this one more than the other two. If you have kids, go see it. Otherwise, it's a rental. I was not disappointed by it. It's not always the time, but it's easily the most lackluster. This movie has 7 screenwriters, and you can kind of feel that. It did. You can tell, like, this guy wanted that, and yeah, it just feels the most, there's effort put into it. It's not Nutjob Chew where it feels like a product. It's like, it's not, it's not Dustlicious. That's a line for that movie.
The Nut Job is one of the worst names for a children's movie I've ever
Try the
heard.
Nut Job 2, Nutty by Nature.
The Nut Job, I cannot get over the fact that the first movie ends with Gangnam Style.
Even though it's set in the 50s.
It ends with Gangnam Style. That's not the funny part. It's funny because this wasn't even when Gangnam Style was relevant.
No, it wasn't.
This was in 2014 when Gangnam Style was already dead. It wasn't even like that funny dead area. It was in like when everyone hated it and wanted nothing to do with it.
And it ends with computer animated Psy dancing with the characters.
But, oh my god.
No, this movie was just very quickly to wrap up, it was a co-production with South Korea, so that makes sense. So yeah. That's my spiel on the Lego universe, and I'm looking forward to the Lego movie too.
On the bright side, South Korea is going to pay for their sins for assisting with the nut job, because they're about to be wiped off the fucking map, unfortunately. So let's not delve into that, but, I mean, South Korea, you worked on the nut job, so I don't know, you kind of brought this on yourself. This is either going to be... This might be terrible in hindsight, so I'm going to end it here.
Let's do that. Dotard! Alright, keep going. We get to the final topic of the night.
Oh, baby.
Let's do it. Now this is all you. I'm gonna sit back and you
I'm
go
talking
on.
Sonic. I'm gonna fucking style with my Sonic knowledge that I've been harboring since I was like 5 years old.
Do it.
So...
I let it have it.
Here is the background for the game Sonic Mania. What happens is, in the 90s, you had Sonic the Hedgehog, right?
Of course.
You got you get and when I will be doing something that, like, not everyone does, Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles, I consider one game.
Okay.
Because it was meant to be one game, it got split during production, and you lock it on, you lock the cartridges on, and it plays as one game. Right. So I will be counting, if I say Sonic 3 or Sonic 3 and Knuckles, they're the same thing. I don't count Sonic and Knuckles and Sonic 3 as their own games. To me, Sonic 3 and Knuckles is the complete game. So you have Sonic 1, Sonic 2, Sonic CD, and Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Those are the original 4, and I loved the shit out of them when I was a kid. I had the Mega Collection, the Gems Collection. I played through all the games. I had the GameCube games, Adventure 2, and I played through all, like, the weird Sonic games, like Shadow the Hedgehog 06. I was a Sonic fanatic. And even as a really young kid, I always thought the original 4 Genesis games were the best. They were untouchable. They were good in a way that I never felt with another, not just another Sonic game, but another video game series. There was something about the way they played, the way they made me feel, the whole vibe of the game, the momentum, physics-based gameplay, everything about it just really gelled with me, personally. I know a lot of people who, like, don't like the Genesis games on a fundamental level, and, like, I can kind of understand that. But I've always loved the old Genesis games. And Sega has tried and failed to replicate it in the past with Sonic 4 and Sonic Generations, and those did not work for me at all. Even Generations has been a very praised game, and I just did not fucking care about it. So, like, and there have been Sonic games that I've liked since. I liked the advanced games, I liked Colors, but I never... And as a kid, I loved the adventure games, but they've aged horrendously. They're not good games.
They actually have aged pretty badly. I will say that.
They are, played those. Especially Adventure 2. That game is fucking awful.
It is not good.
That game is awful. Those games are good for one thing now, and that's the Chow Garden. That's the only good thing about those games now. That and the Dad Rock soundtrack. Which a really funny thing about the old Sonic games, it's so weird that became Dad Rock, because Sonic was always pop music.
It was.
If you look back in the composer for 1 and 2 was a pop musician named Masahiro Nakamura, which I am going to delve into the interesting history of Sonic's musical development.
Right.
But we'll save that for a little bit.
Yeah.
So, for as long as I can remember, ever since I started playing the Sonic games, I always wanted another Sonic Genesis game. And I got excited for Sega's, like, attempts when I was younger. Like, Sonic 4 didn't work. Generations worked for some people, did not work for me at all. And didn't work for a lot of the critical communities of it as well. So what ends up happening is, throughout the 2000s, there were a bunch of fan developers who would work on ROM hacks. There was a guy named the Taxman, Christian Whitehead is his real name. He made this engine called the Retro Engine that basically perfectly recreated the physics of the original game. The original Genesis games.
Right.
And there was another dude named Stealth, whose real name is Simon Tomley. He's another one who, he made the legendary Knuckles and Sonic 1 mod, which was deemed the holy grail of ROM hacking. Like, it was something that said you cannot do it. Based on, like, how the games are coded, based on the palettes, he fucking did it. These two are basically coding gods. And for, like, at least a decade, they were heavily involved in the fan community. Involved with a lot of other people as well. So, what happens is, Christian Whitehead hears that Sega is looking to dip their paws into the mobile market. And he does a proof of concept of a mobile port of Sonic CD. And he said, yeah, I know you guys have trouble making the engine and shit. I recreated your engine from scratch, and I also made it better, and now it's widescreen. And he fixed...
And what year was this?
2009, I think, is when he did the pitch.
Okay.
And Sega's like, you want a fucking job, dude? So they hired him. He made the Sonic CD port, and it became the port of CD became the highest rated Sonic title ever put out.
Ooh.
To this day, it has not been topped, even by Mania.
Damn.
And Sega was like, hey, you want to do the other games for us? So, here's something interesting. Yeah. Sonic 1 is not a good game.
No.
That is very odd for me to say, as a fan of the Genesis games. Sonic 1 is not a good game. It is a game that has great moments in it. It has not aged well. The Taxman version of Sonic 1 is a good game. Isn't that interesting?
That's actually really interesting.
Because he fixes basically all of the shitty stuff with it. You have no idea. Once you play a Sonic game in widescreen, you cannot go back.
I feel that. That can make sense to me.
One of the biggest problems is you can't see the enemies coming.
You can't.
That split second of extra reaction time
really helps you.
Fixes so many fundamental problems with the old games. So, Sonic 1 comes out for the mobile. One thing that fucking kills me, they haven't fucking released the ports on Steam. They did the Sonic CD one on Steam, which thankfully, because that one was my favorite.
Why aren't they on Steam?
I don't know.
That's fucking stupid.
They're only on phones. I'm like, the best version of Sonic 1 and 2 that they have. Sonic 2, they added in the scrapped Hidden Palace level.
Damn, really?
Yeah. This level that was like fabled for years. I
heard about this.
They took all the assets and put it back in.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta try. I gotta look at that.
So, the best definitive versions of these games, you can only play them on a fucking phone. And I know you can get the software online and port them. Just put it on Steam. It's free fucking money. Sega's so dumb.
They are pretty dumb.
I mean, a testament to their stupidity is that it took them 23 fucking years to make Sonic Mania. And they didn't even make it! But we'll get to that.
We'll get to that.
So, what ends up complicating matters in the... before I delve into the Sonic 3 debacle, I'm going to delve... This is almost a Sonic history lesson.
No, please do.
It's all building to me.
I'm loving this.
I promise you.
No, go ahead.
This is my years of Sonic knowledge when I was 5 years old finally coming back. So, around the time Whitehead is putting out the ports, or at least releasing the proof of concept, I believe, this group of Sonic fans decide to do an HD remake of Sonic 2, called Sonic 2 HD. And it's made in gorgeous artwork. Where, like, everything is super fluid. It looks like classic animation. It doesn't even look like sprite work.
Okay.
It's gorgeous looking. Mm-hmm. And it's made by fans. Mm-hmm. It's made by fan artists. The composer is a YouTube remixer named T-Lopes, who is generally regarded as being, like, the best Sonic fan remixer on YouTube. And he is, unquestionably. He's amazing. And he really proves it in Mania, but we'll delve into that when we get to it. But Sonic 2 HD is an amazing game, and it makes it up to... Like, they finally put out a demo after years of work.
Right.
And then one of the guys who's working with them scams them out of all their money, and the project gets fucked.
Oh, shit.
So they're like, yep, this one guy fucked it all up, and the project has to be canceled now. So the group is like... They're like, well, you know, we all still... The guys who didn't fuck us, we still like each other. So they go on to form a studio called Pagoda West. It's Tom Fry, I can't remember one of the other guys' names, and T-Lopes. He sticks on as their composer. All the artists stick on. The programmers stick on. I forget if Simon Donnelly worked with them. I think he did. I think Stealth worked... He worked with them. He wasn't like a member of their team, but I think he worked with them. So they go on to form a studio called Pagoda West. And they put out a bunch of mobile games. I don't know if it's a bunch, actually, but they definitely put out a couple. And they were, like, generally well received. You know, they're solid. I can't remember the name of any of them for the life of me. But supposedly they're pretty good. So, in about 2013-ish, maybe later, Taxman and Stealth, who have been working on the mobile ports, want to do Sonic 3 and Knuckles, the definitive, complete game that fixes all the problems with the lock-on. Because, like, certain content got fucked out of it. Like, certain music bits got removed whenever you locked it on. There were more glitches. You don't get to fight the big arm boss as Sonic anymore. Like, little weird things. So, they want to make the definitive version of this game. But there's a huge, huge music rights scandal going on with this game. And it is because Michael Jackson secretly worked on the music for Sonic 3.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Isn't that fun bombshell for non-Sonic
I'm actually really interested in this.
So, here's the intriguing history of Michael Jackson's involvement with Sonic the Hedgehog. So, the composer of Sonic 1 and 2 was a dude named Masahiro Nakamura, who was he was the bassist for a very famous Japanese pop band called Dreams Come True.
Right.
So when people heard that Nakamura was doing work on the Sonic games, they were like, oh shit, that's so cool, this dude from Dreams Come True is doing the soundtrack. So eventually, I forget the reason why, but he couldn't work on Sonic 3. I don't remember if it was like, I honestly think he was just busy with other stuff. So, here's something interesting about Sonic. He was popular in Japan, but he was mega popular in America. Right. Like, his audience was always America. He was made for an American audience. From the beginning. He was designed to appeal to the cool, edgy factor of 90s America.
Right.
And his 3 inspirations were based on American culture to a degree. And here's more Sonic fun facts. I believe it was Naoto Oshima, who was the character designer, said the 3 inspirations for Sonic were Michael Jackson, Santa Claus, and Bill Clinton. Here's the bizarre rationale between these inspirations. Please. Michael Jackson, the Moonwalker shoes.
I can see that,
The inspiration for Sonic.
Michael Jackson, I get. I don't get the other ones, though.
Santa Claus was the coloration. White and red on the shoes. And they said it was kind of because of, like, Santa being, like, a childhood icon as well.
What about Bill Clinton?
Bill Clinton, quote, they wanted to channel his get-it-done attitude. That's an exact quote. I've never fucking forgotten it because of how fucking weird I thought it was.
That is such an obvious specific.
Sonic the Hedgehog, one of his 3 inspirations was Bill fucking Clinton.
That is really specific.
Keep in mind, this was the 90s, so I'm pretty sure this is before he was president.
I don't think I can make that up.
This is 91. Bill
Clinton
like his
get-it-done attitude. I never. It's so specific.
So anyway.
I love that.
They don't have Nakamura on as the composer for Sonic 3. So they're looking for someone to compose the music for the game while they develop it. And they find out Michael Jackson is a really big Sonic fan. He's a really big Sega fan.
He did mention that.
So they invite him to the Sega of America studios.
Alright.
And as the whole invite is being set up, all the people working at Sega are just like kind of joking around like, yo, what if we got fucking Michael Jackson to do the music? The king of pop. To do the music for fucking Sonic 3. They were all like joking around like, oh yeah, that'd be fucking funny. And then they come to like, what if we did it? And so Michael Jackson comes to Sega of America. He has a great time. And at the end they're like, you want to do the music for Sonic 3? And he's like, yeah, I'm down. So they're like, oh shit.
Fuck.
We just hit the jackpot. We got fucking Michael Jackson doing the music for Sonic 3.
Yeah.
So this is all shrouded in secrecy.
Yeah, of course.
Because it was supposed to be like a big
reveal.
Thing. Game comes out, oh, Sonic 3, Michael Jackson did the fucking music.
This is 1990s. He's still huge.
He is the king of pop. He's the king of pop at this time. So, here we start to run into problems.
Of course.
And one of the big problems, it's boiled down to 2 problems. So Michael Jackson brings on his whole team.
Right.
One of the other important guys who was brought on is Brad Buxer, who is his keyboardist, who would later go on to do the Jetsons. This will be one of the key music copyright
Jetsons movie?
The Jetsons band.
Oh, okay.
So Michael Jackson gets through maybe 6-ish songs. There were apparently others that never made it in and were just used as basis later.
Yeah.
The Sega Genesis had a fucking garbage sound chip.
Ooh.
And certain guys like Nakamura knew how to make it sound good. Or at least the guys who converted Nakamura's synth compositions to the sound chip. Because Nakamura, back in like maybe 2015, released his original synth compositions before they got converted. they sound so much better than what was in the final game. Like, it's all like 80s synth Sonic.
Right.
That sounds way better than what sounds like on the Genesis. So, Michael Jackson also worked on Moonwalker for the Sega Genesis.
Yeah.
And he hated how the Sega Genesis fucking butchered his songs when they were converted to the sound chip.
Oh, boy. That's never good.
So when he works on Sonic 3, and he's composing all this music with his team, he hears how it sounds after it's converted, he's like, I don't like this. This sounds terrible. I hate it. It's butchering the songs I'm writing. Here is the second problem. What happened in the 90s regarding Michael Jackson?
Uh-oh.
Child molestation allegations.
Oh, boy.
So, we got child molestation allegations latched onto Michael Jackson.
That's pretty bad.
Sega is like, fuck.
Well, we just wasted all this,
Fuck.
What are we gonna do, guys?
This can't happen.
Red alert.
So, Michael Jackson did not want to be on this project. Sega did not want Michael Jackson on this project.
I don't blame them.
So they both mutually agreed, you know what? With what I did, you can keep the music, but don't credit me. And they were like, yep, that works. So Michael Jackson made songs for Sonic 3 and was not credited. And there were a couple unfinished ones that I believe the next composer, Jun Sonoa, who would go on to be like the main Sonic composer. And Jun Sonoa is a fucking awesome composer. Like, one of the things that's always said about Sonic games is that even if they're bad, they always have good music. That is thanks to Jun Sonoa. That dude is a fucking awesome composer. So what he did, he took a lot of Michael Jackson's songs that were never finished, and he kind of like used them as the basis to form the rest of the Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles soundtrack. But there are a few songs that you can tell 100% were Michael Jackson's works.
Right. Are these lyrical work or is this instrumental?
Instrumental.
Okay.
But they have sound clips. The key that you can tell it's Michael Jackson is they have his signature, woo! They have that in the songs.
Nice.
Carnival Night Zone, Ice Cap Zone, Launch Base, which are the three zones. Sonic 3 Part 1 has 6 zones. Carnival Night, Ice Cap, and Launch Base are the 3 second half zones.
Yeah.
So those 3, Knuckles theme, the mini boss theme, and the ending theme.
Right.
The ending theme is Stranger in Moscow.
Right.
It is straight up the instrumental. And if you listen to the instrumental of Stranger in Moscow, even the finished version, and you listen to the credits from Sonic 3, it's the same song. And this is where we run into a problem. Michael Jackson and his team made songs in Sonic 3 that, because they didn't get credited, would later use those as the basis for finished songs. And one of the biggest ones is Brad Buxer working on Ice Cap, because that is straight up Hard Times. There's an unreleased Jetsons song called Hard Times that is the exact same as Ice Cap. Like, it's not even subtle. Like, it's Ice Cap is da 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 da. Hard Times, happiest days of my life. It's the exact same. Sega can't fucking use their own music because they don't have the rights to it. Because it was done by fucking Michael Jackson. And they never credited him, so it's technically not within their domain. So they can't fucking release a remake with this music in it. So they could do the ports back when Jackson was alive, so that's why the music's in Mega Collection. But for the PC release, they changed the music for Carnival Night and Ice Cap and Launch Base. And so Michael Jackson, I guess, was like, okay, whatever, you can release this. Michael Jackson died. Yeah. And the Jackson estate is a bunch of cunts.
We're still getting daily updates on his health, though. A real Facebook page. Keep going.
But the Jackson estate are a bunch of assholes.
Yeah.
And,
they are. No doubt about
Brad Buxer seems to be pretty tough to work with, too.
Okay.
Because they are not fucking budging on this music shit. And we don't know much about what's been going on. Something happened.
That's my bad. Yeah, it's fine. We're still recording. Don't worry.
Is it gonna die?
No, we have a good we have enough time, but let's try to do maybe 10 more minutes.
10 more minutes? I'll try to wrap up Sonic Mania.
Just go as long as you can.
Okay.
We'll
okay.
When we get to 10%, we will.
Okay. So here's what happens. Sega is now wrapped into shitloads of legal trouble.
Yeah.
Trying to work this shit out that they still haven't gotten done with.
Right.
And they tell Taxman and Stealth, yeah, Sonic 3 is just not fucking happening.
Yeah.
So,
what?
The best Sonic game isn't getting a port because of all this fucking music trouble.
That sounds terrible.
That is the interesting musical history of Sonic the Hedgehog 3.
Alright.
So what Taxman, Stealth, and their little gang do is they're like, well, we can't do this now.
Yeah.
Why don't we pitch a new Sonic game done in the style of the old games? And what they plan is a very small, maybe 4 or 5 level game that they would make. Since they can't do Sonic 3, they would make a bundle of the Sonic 1 port, Sonic 2, Sonic CD, and Sonic Discovery, as it is called in its preliminary stages. Right. Sonic Discovery would be a tiny little quick game that would just be bundled with the port. And it would be kind of like icing on the cake. So they pitch it to Sega, and they make this zone called Studiopolis, which is basically a Sonic wet dream. It has so many fucking references to Sega, to Sonic. It's made gorgeously. The music is out of this world. They nailed the physics. Everything is fucking amazing. And so, Iizuka, who is the head of Sonic team, says, I really like this.
Right.
Why don't we roll with it? Because Sonic's 25th anniversary is coming up around this time.
Right.
They end up overshooting the date, so it came out a year later. But he says, why don't we do a celebration? So you take these few new levels that you wanted to do as a little bundle, and you take all the old levels from the Sonic games. You pick what the old levels you want, and you go fucking nuts with them. You make them in your own style. You make them new. So new spins on old levels in combination with new levels make it a game. We'll call it Sonic Mania.
Okay.
And they call it Sonic Mania because they call it by the Mania for the Mania. It's a game that's made by Sonic Maniacs for Sonic Maniacs.
That's good.
Sonic Mania is the best Sonic game ever made. Unquestionably. That's not to say it doesn't have flaws. It is a Sonic wet dream. That is not even a joke. That is the best way to describe this game. It's fun. It's the best Sonic game already.
Alright.
But for a Sonic fan, especially one like I was as a kid, this is the Sonic game I always wanted that I never thought would exist when I was 5 years old. So, this game is deeply, deeply personal to me.
Alright.
Already. It is a game that I never thought would exist, and it does, and I'm in love with it. And I love Sonic Mania, and it is the shit that they reference in this game. Oh my god. You straight up play Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine.
Oh, damn.
At one part. Which, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine was a Americanized port of Puyo Puyo.
Puyo Puyo?
Yeah, but with all Eggman characters. It's Eggman and his robots.
Alright.
That's a boss fight in this game. They also do fucking crazy shit. So they'll set it up oh, you remember this from Green Hill, where you're gonna fight the boss and he comes out with the ball and chain. Just kidding, it's the fucking final boss of Sonic 2. That's the first boss in the game. This giant Death Egg robot comes down, starts shooting fucking bombs, fucking drill hands at you, and you're just like, what the fuck is going on? There's a part where you pilot Eggman's robot and fight him with it.
What?
It is insane.
You gotta play this sometime.
And another thing that's crazy is they don't just take, they take the fan favorite levels like Chemical Plant.
Right.
And, Hydro City.
Yeah. Hydro City.
Couldn't use Ice Cap because of the music. But, Lava Reefs in there, which is another fan favorite. And then there's weird choices, like Oil Ocean, which is a level that, no one even remembers from Sonic 2. You're in, an oil refinery.
That's weird.
Metallic Madness, which is just, a weird metal level from Sonic CD. That, it's the final level, but you're like, why are they bringing this back when there were, a bunch of other Sonic CD levels that were more deserving, like Collision Chaos or Quartz Quadrant. Every single level in this game is fucking awesome. That has never happened in a Sonic game before. Even every old Sonic game, some more than others, they always have at least one shitty level. Sonic 1, Marble, Labyrinth, and Scrap Brain fucking suck. They are bad levels, and Labyrinth especially basically ruins the game.
Oh, damn.
Sonic 2. A lot of people don't like Oil Ocean. I'm okay with it. I was always pissed at Chemical Plant, which is funny because that's the fan favorite. Metropolis fucking sucks, but, like, it sucks in a more bearable way. Mm-hmm. Sonic 3 and Knuckles, Marble Garden's pretty sucky. Sandopolis Act 2 is the worst Sonic level ever.
It's called Sandopolis, I mean, let's be real here.
No, Sandopolis Act 1, you're in a desert, and it's fun.
Well, but Act 2...
Sandopolis Act 2, you're in a pyramid, and the lights keep going out, and you keep getting attacked by ghosts, so you can't even run.
That sounds pretty dumb.
Because ghosts keep fucking bumping into you, and you have to find light switches. It fucking sucks. And you keep running out of time because the level's too fucking big. It's the worst level in any Sonic game. In any good Sonic game, I should say. Because there are a lot of worse levels. And even Sonic CD, Wacky Workbench, fucking sucks.
Wacky Workbench, I remember that one.
Every single level in Sonic Mania is fucking awesome. Without fail. The game is consistently awesome. It's fucking great. And, like, I was upset that Quartz Quadrant didn't make it in. Lava Reef Act 2 is basically Quartz Quadrant. Right. You're in a gem mine, but, like, they add in the conveyor belts from Quartz Quadrant. Chemical Plant Act 2 is a good version of Wacky Workbench. They not only take all the best parts of Sonic, they take the worst parts and make them good.
Nice.
Hydro City isn't even a water level if you stay on the top path. So that rectifies that. Even when you're in the water, it's awesome. It is so consistently awesome. It fixes every problem with the old games. It makes old Sonic feel new again. It's everything I wanted and more.
So you give it a high rating?
I give it a 10 out of 10.
Damn.
That's not to say I don't have criticisms.
Just get into that now.
There should be more new levels. There's only 4 totally new levels.
Okay.
But, to their credit, some of the old zones are so reinvented they basically feel like new levels. I do kind of wish they could add 1 or 2 more new zones, but we can save it for the sequel, because this game did so fucking well that Sega is dumb enough to not make a sequel, but at this point I feel like they realize, this is just printing money. So, another thing, you can unlock all of Sonic's old moves from the Genesis games that didn't make it in, like the Super Peel-At from CD, or the Insta-Shield from Sonic 3. You can have Knuckles as your partner, no matter who you're playing as. That includes Knuckles.
Alright.
You can play as Knuckles and have Knuckles as your partner. It's called End Knuckles mode. The problem is, you can't use it on a save file. And, like, what's the point?
Alright, yeah, I get that.
I
can see
there's
that.
another thing, like, there's, like, zone transitions, like there were in Sonic 3, but, like, not all of the zones have them. Like, I think there was last-minute zone shuffling, and they didn't have time to make transitions. But, there's, like, little things. But overall, the good parts of this game vastly, vastly outweigh the bad.
Nice.
If you're not a Sonic fan, you might like this game. If you are a Sonic fan,
you will love this.
You're gonna fucking nut when you play this game.
It'll be like Hydro level.
Yeah. Fang, Bean, and Bark, who are scrapped characters who haven't appeared since the arcade fighting game Sonic Fighters in, like, 95.
That's right!
They're in this game. They're a boss fight in this game. One of Eggman's robots turns into Fang, Bean, and Bark.
Really?
Yeah.
That
and
awesome.
You straight up fight Fang, Bean, and Bark.
Right.
It's awesome. It's so good.
That sounds really cool, actually. I'm not gonna lie to you.
The final boss is based on a scrapped final boss from Sonic CD.
Yeah.
Where Eggman's in, like, a little pod, and he has arms and legs sticking out, and he's, like, bouncing around. The thing's about to die. I basically said what I wanted to say. Sonic Mania is the Sonic game I always wanted, and I'm in love with it. And thank you, Taxman and the Mania team. Good job. That's my final shout.
All right, man. Thanks for being on this podcast.
That wraps up the DAMIan Mania podcast.
This has been a great podcast. I cannot wait to post this.
Thank you.
Thanks for being on, Damien, brother.
You're welcome. I've enjoyed it. It was fun having a podcast that had structure.
Right?
Yep.
Couch Media Podcast. Strictly in a building.